Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Autopsy with Maddee P. I'm your host, Maddee P. Girl. Why is my voice this pitch? I'm giving 13-year-old girl. I have a lot of caffeine running through the system. Okay, I can't even lie to you today. So we're jumping right back in, girl. This is my first week back since COVID. Remember when I was coughing on that thing about a week ago? I'm feeling much better. Thank you for asking. And it's funny because while I had COVID, I live in the South. So many people were like, it's not real. COVID's not real. Okay. Well, I'm sick with it. So the fuck? Another point. So I got all the vaccines. My sister has not autoimmune. Diabetes is what it's called. But is that an autoimmune? I should probably know that. Endocrine. That's an endocrine disease. Off to a rough start again. And I got all the vaccines to protect her, okay? I'm not political. I'm not trying to get into all that with you, okay? And my COVID only lasted like 3 days total. And I told my mom about this because everyone at work has it for like 5 days. I'm talking so quick right now. And she said, and I then went and Googled it, or ChatGPT and TikTok, same thing. And it told me it was lessened because of my vaccines. So if you think it's not real, just remember that I had a very easy and I still made my money, girl, that week. I was fine. I was only out a couple of days and I tested negative to go back. So I don't know if that's too political for you girls, but I'm just saying it was helpful for me to have the vaccines. We're going to jump into warm-ups. My voice is like giving prepubescent today. I'm not sure what the fuck that is on. Hello. Yesterday I went to Fort Sumter. As you all know, I date myself. I am in the process of getting a man's, okay? But I still date myself. I will always date myself. She is first and foremost the most important relationship that I have, okay? It will always be that way for me. And I hadn't been on a date in a few weeks, so I thought, let me jump on it. I'm off today, and I chose Fort Sumter, as some of you probably saw on the talk. And this was the first time. First of all, it was kind of boring. I can't even lie. And honestly, it's because I'm a history buff, so I kind of already knew a lot of that. But it reminded me of like industrial 1950s. She wasn't even cute for real. And I find rubble cute. Like distressed cities. District 12 after that ruins, girl. Yeah, it's cute. Thanks. It's an aesthetic. I understand. I get it. And it was not giving that. They had like this. Anyways, I'm not here to slander Fort Sumter. I had a great time. The ferry boat was very nice to go back and forth on too. But this was the first time in my brain that I thought, what if ghosts actually aren't real? Gasp. I know. Crucify me. Actually, I want to be pinned to a cross for that because what the fuck? Yeah. I've never thought that. It's never really occurred to me. After all this pondering that I do about the universe and such and what happens after we die, I never would allow myself to go as crazy as to think the ghosts could potentially not be real. Because that would be devastating. But let me tell you, I have gone to every corner of this city in Charleston. I am an intuitive person. I meditate daily. Okay? The pineal gland is activated, bitch. I'm in there, like swimwear. And still, no ghosts are coming. I haven't seen one. I have felt one in my sister's house. And I thought I might have heard one, but I think I was drunk. So, this was not recent pre-sobriety. Thank you. So I don't know. What if they aren't real? They definitely are. But if anyone's going to see them, it's going to be me. And you know, I think at my core, myself and the ghost both know I do not want to see it. Not really. Really excited for some reason to see one. Always hunting for one. Always taking pictures. Always in the lookout. But you know, I would shit my pants. I would have run back to that ferry boat so quick. That shit, I'd be like, Captain, let's go. Mayflower it. Let's hit it. We're hitting the colonies. I'm out of here. And because of that, because of going to Fort Sumter, I've also been on theme. I'm definitely, okay. I'm pretty much Parliament, if we're being completely honest with you. That's the energy I've been giving. No, not in the way you think. Not in the way you think. I just meant in terms of history, okay? And the aesthetic. When I say things, I'm talking about the aesthetic. Don't act like you don't like coquette and you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Okay? We all know where I stand politically. And it's with the gays. Ally over here. Ally. Okay? But I've been having my pantaloons on, girl. I've been listening to some classical music. I'm disordered. I'm severely disordered. And I dropped my pen on the floor. Ooh. Okay. I've been like all over the place. All right. What else do we have to talk about? Cardi B is having her 4th child. And she doesn't look well. You know, I brought Cardi B up a few weeks ago. I'm not even that big of a Cardi B fan. Love her though. And you're lying, or actually you just don't know shit if you claim like she doesn't have talent, this and that. That is a businesswoman right there. And don't compare her to Nicki. Nicki, this is a debate now. Okay, fine. I'm Parliament. Consider me debating. Nicki Minaj writes her own shit. She is GOAT. GOAT. Potentially the best out of all the male rappers too. She is up there. Way, way up there, okay? Writes her own shit. Is queen. Thank you. B.O.B. So you calling me Bob? I live off that little riff right there. B.O.B. So you calling me Bob? Shaking my head. Half the week. Like that fucking thing from Lilo and Stitch. That motherfucker. That's me. Cardi B is an entrepreneur. She does not write her own raps. She's not a lyrical genius like our prodigy Miss Nicki. Both have a great ass. That's unimportant. Court, irrelevant. Abstained. Kind of is important. Anyways. She is a mastermind. And y'all don't appreciate her for the businesswoman she is. She's a great rapper. I'll give it to her. Does she write her own stuff? No. Do I love her and adore her because she's a woman? Yes. I'm not a Cardi B hater. Although recently, she's looking a little nutty. And also, who is that skibbity toilet man that she's marrying? Is that an athlete? Who is that guy? Couldn't tell you because he doesn't have an ass for me to look at. Today I was in the gym and I was looking around and I was like, you know what's funny? Every time that I've been at the gym, I'm looking at the woman because I've been listening again to the clues of my potential lesbianism. Ally. Which, you know, I've always been a little gay up in here. Okay, sometimes I'm looking a little dykey. And I think the men hate me because they know I could steal your bitch. That's what it is. Surely it's nothing else. Surely. And yeah, so I just had that thought. I don't know. I'd like to give you guys updates on my sexualism. Sexual? That college education is looking better and better by the second today. And I think it's confirmed. I am, unfortunately, I know, straight. Because I love men. I'm sorry to say that. I do. But when I'm looking around at the street, in the gym, wherever, I'm looking for the woman. My eyes just tend to go to them. I'm not looking at the guys on the street or in the gym. And I'm no better than a man. You're wearing the Define set, hunty. Your ass is looking at me. I'm not even looking at your ass. I don't know how we got here. Objected. Irrelevant. Sustained. Was that good? I always wanted to be a lawyer when I was growing up. And I think it would have been a good course of action had I gotten addicted to Adderall and not Coke, you know, that kind of like that split that worked out for me. Because then I could be in there. I'd be yelling at these motherfuckers. Oh, sustained. I'd be so good. And I'd have I would definitely have short hair if I was a lawyer. And I'd have my hot pink pen. Anyways. So Cardi B is having her 4th child and she's looking rough. And not in the way of her looks. We already talked about it. Clearly, I'm all in the woman today. But just like, she looks sad and scared. Not because she's having the 4th kid. That's the thing y'all don't know about women. By the time she's shooting out her 4th, that girl is a brick. Hello. Miss Incredible Hulk. They're not worried about having that kid emotionally, physically. They've been through it. But there's something behind her eyes that I can see pain in right now. And that brings me to another point that I love psychoanalyzing celebrities because it's never right. Right? Like, we don't know those fucking people. We have no idea. That day, like today, I was pissed off because I bought the wrong moisturizer and I have to go back to Target. And it pissed me off for a solid 10 minutes. Sorry about it. Actually, solid 20 minutes. Sustained. And that could have been something that happened to these celebrities. So I never have any idea what I'm talking about. But it's always so funny on TikTok because people are on there. They're like, she's sad because of this. It's like, I'll go with it. I'll take it. So yeah, that's my psychoanalyzing of Cardi B and all the other celebrities. That's not my business. Maybe I'm also a researcher. See, that's the problem with me. I am a jack of all trades, master of none. That is like a really good definition of me. Because I could have been a million things in this world. And what am I doing? Sitting here with the camera telling you my funky business. That is what I am doing. Next warm up. Oh, I found out one of my favorite cores. If you don't know what cores is, download TikTok. Hello. It's an aesthetic. Again, here we are stuck on aesthetic. I'm a woman. Sorry about that. Actually, I'm not. And I love aesthetics. I love cores of things. Okay. Because it just like the niches of women, of anyone. Okay. The niches of people interest me. And I love it. Some of the shit these spunky ass girls bring to the table is just like, Tahine rim is what they are giving me. And I unlocked one of my favorite cores. And that is Hollywood pop star turned princess / prince. Like Grace Kelly. Is that her name? I didn't write it down. Grace Kelly? You know what I'm talking about? It just makes so much sense because celebrity to us, that is our prince and princesses. That's our royalty, is celebrity. And I am not mad I'm from a country like that. Let me tell you. Still ally. Okay. But as a pop culture queen, pop culture fanatic, how could I be mad? So that's one of my favorite cores. And it's got me thinking about Halloween this year. Last and final point for warm-ups. I feel like I'm squatting 300 pounds right now talking to you. Like I am strained emotionally, physically. Like I'm doing good in life. I don't know what's happening to me. Or if that made any sense. Flash mobs. Do I want to be part of one? No. Do I want one to happen to me while I'm out? Yes. I can't believe I fucking wrote this down. For the past few weeks, I've been going places in public, no flash mobs. And I don't know if they still exist. So comment down below if you're part of a flash mob gang. I don't have the time for that, nor do I want to. I'm fine with embarrassment and social embarrassment. Does not bother me. I'm sitting here right now. Clearly, does not bother me. But I don't have the time for that, nor am I a dancer. But I just want to experience it. It looks so alive. And I saw a video on TikTok of the Bohemian Rhapsody people out in the streets. Oh, it was so beautiful. I'm sure you saw it. If you own a phone, you know what I'm talking about. And I want that to happen. Okay. Enough of the warm-ups. Enough of the warm-ups today. Sustained. Argumentative. I'm not going to stop doing that. Should I do that at work? That's a funny bit. I'll do it at work. Look out, coworkers. Today I'm coming in hot and a little sleepy. So today we're going to talk about seasonal depression. More like seasons changing. Okay, things happening in our life. And we're going to start with a quote. We're back on our quote grind. I did not have a fun fact for you this week because I went on a tangent and we're now at 13 minutes, so not happening. Quote of the week. This is cheesy. Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if only one remembers to turn on the light. J.K. Rowling said that. J.K. Rowling has a really nice yacht. She came to Charleston. So that's the quote of the week, girls. Let's jump in. So it's more so the seasons changing and our emotions. Okay? You don't have to be experiencing seasonal depression to be here today. This is some of my history, what's gone on, and how I have risen as a phoenix out of the ashes. It doesn't have to be that severe, but seasons changing is not fun for 90% of us as females, as anyone. And it's cooling off here. Well, not here. Somewhere it is. And it's going to be cooling off soon. And it stresses me every time. I always personally looked at seasons as a checklist of things that I need to accomplish. And this I have now recognized and articulated to also mean emotional. These were feelings, things that I had to feel and experience through this season. And I never felt like I actually accomplished that season. And when I sat down to kind of articulate this, because this is something that was actually a theme in my emotional recovery, and we'll kind of get there at some point if I ever shut the fuck up. But each season brought me closer to a new year. And that is terrifying. If you part with me, you understand where I'm coming from. A new year, 2026, especially if you're a 2000s baby, because that means I'm 26. I am whatever the year is. So it's just like a constant reminder. It's there every year. How old you are is in your face January 1st. Or like, close to it, what you're about to be. I'm February. I have never, ever been good at goodbyes. I'm way too good. Not me. I don't move on well. I don't say goodbyes well. I feel things extremely deeply, and I am not a casual person. This goes for emotions. This goes for people. This goes for seasons. This goes for things. This goes for literally anything, because I have a deep empathy towards something as simple as a month. And this is like a strange relation to kind of make, but even when I leave my friends or family, this used to be a lot worse. Saying goodbye and the drive home from places left me with a pit in my stomach, especially my family. Hanging out with them, I could be with them for 12 hours. And when I leave, there is just this tinge, heart palpitation, me leaving my body, and a pain that is presented to me. This also happens when I leave my friends or just leave somewhere. I figured out that it is because I don't think I am enough / I do not think that I gave enough to that situation. Every time I did. And I'm telling them 50 times as if they can't hear me that I love them every time. I tell someone I love them like 4 times before they leave me. I got a grips on this, but this was really hard for me when I first got sober too. And I think it's because also at the pit, it was disguised that really I felt a great deal of guilt and remorse for all the things that I had done in my active use and for not being grateful for people and not loving them to the degree I know I do, or at least not being vocal about it and acting on that, because I can love people deeply, but I'm not acting as such. I'm not acting accordingly. So my thoughts and what I feel on the inside is not matching up with my outside, which left me falling short, I felt like, towards myself and towards others, and not being enough. My psyche allowed me in some way to believe that good things don't return to me, and that they are I'm like struggling with words today, very conditional, I guess. And that these good things that I experience, it's just going to be that moment, and it doesn't surpass a moment. That joy doesn't continue to transfer into my life. It always felt like things, saying goodbye in whatever realm that I'm in, it felt like punishment, and it felt like something was being taken away from me. It always felt like punishment. That's how I would articulate it. And it wasn't good enough for me to seek out the new, because I just knew that I deep down wasn't deserving of pretty much anything that was given to me at any point in time. Like, I'm allowed to have joy, but not for too long. You can experience it, but you don't deserve it for a long term. And I would resent every single season that changed. This wasn't just kind of held to winter for me, and we'll get into winter and stuff, but it's been every season. Because I was living in all I felt I couldn't be. Not the potential of what I could be, but more so everything that I could not be. Just like how sometimes I know what I don't want, but it's hard for me to say what I do want. And that comes with growth, and that might be a little confusing for you to understand. That's the depression layer, I think, of my life that I fight still often. And I don't want anyone to think that I don't experience the sadness and anxiety. Thank God has been lifted a little bit from my shoulders. But there are times that I experience depression. And that is a dark cloud that we've discussed before, and I will not continue to beat with this bat of my voice. Okay, what the fuck? But it is me constantly reaching into my past and looking into my past, because at the core, no matter what, I think I am not enough. And that is something that I face to this day. And I have to catch myself. I was deeply unstable for most of my life. Deeply unstable. Irrational and unstable. And I did not like the concept of things changing around me. It was too much because I could not keep up. So I don't want new flowers, and I don't want new bugs and new clothing. And the only thing that I looked forward to was a PSL. What does that mean, girls? We know. Vocab test, pumpkin spice latte, abstained, argumentative. I feel like I'm adding a layer of confusion to this because no one's going to understand that joke. Yeah, winter was the worst for me, as is most girlies, because how are you going to cage a bird? Hello. And to me, this was a time period that humans got to work. That was not something I was doing. Humans don't hibernate. We work harder during the winter months. And that is not something that I wanted for myself, nor did I have anything to work for. So this would be the great season that I indeed hide. All I wanted was to be distracted at these times. And when I look back at my alcoholism and my active use during the winters, it was 10,000 fold. And these are for obvious reasons. Just like how I'm not going to sit here and help you cure your seasonal depression. Okay. I'm no doctor. And there's obvious answers to this. You got to go outside. We have less to do. You need vitamin D. You need these things in your life. That is very obvious. And for obvious reasons, I was indoors due to the fact that I'm not on the beach drinking. And it became a lot more depressing at those times because I feel condescending today. Because I can't hide behind day drinking. Day drinking in the winter, unless it's sports associated, is a pretty big red flag, right? You don't have a reason to be day drinking. You're supposed to be grinding, first of all. And I did not like the exposure even to myself. Because when I was hiding, it wasn't just from other people and other stuff. I was running and hiding from myself as well. That was the main person I was hiding from. So when those things are brought to your forefront and to your front door and you realize that you're about to be drinking all day for months on end, it's scary. And it's actually really isolating and sad. You know, and at this time, especially before I started dealing with all this and cleaning the mess up, was no one could tell me to go to school, hit the gym, work harder. They're like, no. And I kind of equate winter in a way to the night when your demons come out and you have kind of no choice and you drink in excess or you just decay and you become that pit and that sorrow that you were hoping summer took away this last time, and it did not. And it's just the same as night all over again. And I struggle in dark crevices when light is shined on certain things. That is why now I look for my dark crevices, and we've had these past few mental health episodes, because that is where I think I'm fine in the sunshine and there's just a dark hole somewhere that I cannot crawl out of and that like a demon is actually lurking in. And that is what winter looks like, I fear, for a lot of you. It's similar to night in the way too of you want to hide but you can't. And that's kind of what demons are. And when they start playing enough inside of you, you know that you can't. And I really liked the neat summertime box that I had kind of like tucked myself into. And if we're going to be honest, a lot of this I feel like is egotistical. And I'm here to just say things. And unfortunately, a lot of my life was attached to the way I looked. I still fight that sometimes. And this new routine of like lifting and actual strength is the first time when I've worked out and cared about my diet and exercise that it is fully for brain function and for me to live a long, happy, healthy life and for me to be actually very strong. Otherwise, any other associated time, it was very based in what I looked like. And if we're being completely honest, it was as deep as me not being tan and me not being pretty in the winter. So I thought, because I'm delusional. And if you think you're really pretty, then you also think you're really fucking ugly. And you can see when your skin is cracked and when you look like shit. And that wasn't a really egotistical time in my life because I was deeply insecure. And it doesn't seem like that could harm someone that deeply. And there are a lot of reasons that I hated the winter and I hated seasonal changes. But I do think a big chunk of it had to do with what I looked like. And it was like hidden. And I'm like, surely that can't be what this is about. And, you know, that's okay that you feel that way. I don't know. And we will talk about the age thing coming up, like I've said for the 15th time. But it's okay that you feel that way because society taught us to feel that way. That's not just you being an egotistical bitch. That's society telling you that if you're not a pretty girl, you're not enough. And that shit being drilled into you a million times. If you're old, you're ugly. That is what society gave me. And now like that I don't fucking care what society has to say and that I want to be a strong female, that type of shit doesn't bother me. And I was stuck to this idea of my most beautiful peak in the summer, which was sad. And this is kind of something that's going to be cheesier, but I was sitting here writing this and I felt the need to mention it. And this was during active use too. So this was not in a healing era of any kind. This was the beginning of probably like the dark, of like my pit, of my rock bottom. This is kind of the beginning of that in the summer. And and I was sitting on the beach, and it was like end of summer, so we're turning into hurricane season here. And there's a period of time where things get really rainy, but it's still sunny outside, and it sucks because the last few months are wasting away. Or in our case, we had that earlier this year in like June and July, and it's like the pretty days are fucking wasting away, and it sucks. Anyways, I was out sitting on the beach, and a hurricane was rolling in that week. It was already starting to look stormy, already starting to look gray, and I was drunk, as always. And I was articulating this feeling that I had with nature. And I'd always been very drawn to nature, always very, very connected with nature. And it's my favorite thing in the world. I love Mother Earth. And I look up, the sky is coming in, and I'm like, fucking looks like shit out here. Like, what the fuck? Like, this sucks. And it hit me for some reason that I was turning my back on Mother Nature. And because she was ugly, because she wasn't presenting me with what I wanted, I don't go back outside until she is exactly what I want her to be. And that's sunny. Until she is exactly what I want her to be. And that's no hurricane. Yeah, it's just kind of like I had this idea of, how dare she? Look at the attitude on that one, right? And to me, at the time, it represented a form of me and my relationship with other people when I wrote that. And my relationship with Mother Nature, because it twinged something in my chest that I did not like, because this is the relationship that I have and that I felt I deeply had no matter where I go, because a lot of my alcoholism I felt alone, and nature has never made me obviously feel that way. Not to get too cheesy sitting here right now, but that's how I felt, I think, also about myself and what I felt other people were to me. And that was because I couldn't, not because other people weren't there for my pain, but because I couldn't articulate it. And I didn't know how to ask for help or what to even say. Honestly, I didn't even know what to even say about my feelings, about my emotions on the inside. And it felt like people would walk away when things got hard. But it was me. I would walk away when things got hard for me because I couldn't articulate it. And because I felt as though I was just going to hurt somebody else because I couldn't even keep myself on 2 feet. And how was I going to support you? And I walk away actually when things get cloudy and things get stormy. And for some reason, this relationship, because that's how I felt about the winter too, obviously, it's time to go inside because nature isn't what I want her to be. And it's the cheesiest concept, but I felt like sharing that with you today because it really transformed my seasonal depression and the way that I would feel about change and about the cyclical nature, the hope in that, of what nature is. And how much of life is stormy, but still exhibits peace and or great strength. Because that is when nature is her strongest, when she's upset. And that is also, again, so fucking cheesy. And I don't know like the right ways to articulate it to make it not cheesy as fuck and cringy to listen to. But it helped me. Because this was when I realized I was resenting and abandoning nature. And it was also a metaphor too, I think, for in my life personally, I'm taking only what I wanted. And that was the truth. And I think when I go back and I look at a lot of this stuff, I wrote a lot during that time because I don't know, I just did because I was fucking drunk sitting on my ass. And a lot of that time was representation of how much I take. And I think I was starting to realize this in my alcoholism, and I definitely was. And this would lead to a great pain that led me to my rock bottom because I was having these realizations and I was very self-aware, and it was especially coming up in my writing, but like I didn't have the nerve to get healed or to know where to start. And that's why I feel bad for her, because I can see her struggling and connecting these dots, even if it's true, something as simple as nature presenting that to her. And I think nowadays we undermine how much, like when I say go sit in nature and go meditate and do this shit, yeah, it's for the mental health and for all of that. But like, these are where the great metaphors are seen, at least for myself. Like what I need and what I am, like these cycles and these patterns that are happening, they're happening outside in nature. And like life imitates art, I think is what I'm trying to say here. Cheesy. Life imitates art. And there is something about that is really important for me in my healing journey. And whenever I feel confused or down, or I'm struggling with a topic idea or whatever it is, there's so much of nature that I can go sit in that just like things make sense, aside from the healing aspect, aside from, grounding and being outside, but for simply the metaphor of nature. Okay? Maybe that'll help you. And I'm not afraid to be fucking cheesy here, girls. I'm not. You're the girls. Let me be poetic. But like winter, I was worth loving. And also, summer wasn't the weekend that I think a lot of us live for. And we've talked about in these episodes before. If not, you can go back and listen, that we live for the weekend. And that is a concept that a lot of us now understand because of TikTok, thankfully. And that's what summer is. It is the great yearly weekend that we are all looking forward to. And it wasn't the crisp air that I was afraid of. I was afraid of who I was and what I was leaving behind each season, what I had not accomplished and what I had not been enough for. So when I walk away, I don't even remember shit. And half the time, that wasn't even a result of my drinking. Yes, it was, of course. But when I say don't remember shit, there's a certain thing that my brain locks on that I need to remember certain days, certain things in order for it to be fun, this memory situation. And I'm not walking away with enough for that. This month, this season flew by to me. And that was not fun. Not a fun emotion to experience. Learning to say goodbye to seasons and to change was a level of acceptance in myself, because I think what it is too is you need to feel safe to feel your emotions. It needs to be safe that you let those emotions out. And that, for some reason, I think is a form of accepting yourself. When you can freely feel those things, that's what acceptance is. Because I am a cohesive person. And I feel like I'm bits and pieces, but I'm not. I am a cohesive person. And I am at liberty to discuss that. And objection. Argumentative. Sustained. But I am at liberty to be all the things that I want to be. And I think that was a stepping stone in also helping me come to terms with my alcoholism and my acceptance in alcoholism, which was a little bit different of a version of acceptance. And that was a difficult thing for me. Recognizing myself as a full, strong adult individual was what would help me accept my alcoholism, because I am actually indeed a person. And now I have like this proof of that. And I don't know how to articulate that or make that extra special for you and put it in a podcast box. But I am an actual person. And that's a derealization concept too that I think people who suffer from something like depression or anxiety can really understand, because there's a part of me that's missing often. Now I'm not experiencing this, but during this time period, I'm not there and I'm missing. And it's this derealization sensation. And the acceptance of that is what would allow me to feel human enough to admit my wrongs. And so I got sober in August last year. And I didn't realize, but this would be kind of the first time that I was not only accepting the change of a season, but inviting new in and making space for new and welcoming her at the doorstep to winter. And I was excited to get to work and on my own, inviting change. And I think part of that was my issue that we have discussed with rest and relaxation. And the more work you do, the more you have to understand rest, which that sounds strange, but I think that was a fear of mine, and a fear of winter too, is the rest, and that everything does catch up with you at some point. And so this was the first time that I was okay with being still, because I was on a pink cloud. In my early recovery, I was on a pink cloud, and I was excited to get to work, and I was excited to not be the person that I used to be, because she sucked and I did not want to be her anymore. And I was excited to recover. And that was a really useful tool for me. And that was a blessing in disguise, because I would realize the importance of changing seasons and of me coming into change. And so I think a big help, I think that would help you, is inviting the season in before she comes to you, because you want to be awake. It was all about the subconscious preparation that I had for this. And I think this is the perfect time to make this episode. And part of the reason that I make it is because a few weeks ago I did this in a warm up, but there is this thing we struggle with in rest, right? Where we are going from the high of work to the low of relaxation. And we are somewhere lost in that shuffle that we can't understand. So we fill it with scrolling or a lot of people drinking or drug use. And that I'm kind of equating right now to the seasons changing and that kind of like drift down where it's just like there is no preparation. We're just there. And then we're struggling with it. And what I kind of did last year, and this was a subconscious situation I think I went through because I knew that winter sucked and I was so scared for it. And then again, I talked to y'all. I was scared. Argumentative. I was scared for summer really, really bad when I was getting to that place because I was only like 8 months sober, however long sober I was. And I was really scared. I was scared each time that the season would take my sobriety because I was scared I would become this new version of myself. But that's not how my life had to be anymore because I am the same person now and I understand who I am and I'm open to understanding more of who I am. I don't need to run away from that concept. And that's a little more kind of on the recovery side of what seasons changing look like, but I think that relates to mental health too. And anyways, so September and August come every year. And I want to give you the advice that there's something about kids going back to school, that small little window where it's really fun to buy supplies and it's really fun to prepare for school and to get your fucking backpack and write all your shit down and figure out which binders for which class and whatnot. There's some joy in that. And that's for everyone. I hated fucking school when I had that. And I think uniting with the kids in this way and preparing for your version of what the school year, quote, is going to look like. And maybe that's because there was a child in me too, and I had not grown up yet. And so the only way I could equate organization and stuff was to school because that's the only structure that I had ever had or understood in terms of work. And you might feel that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But remember, you went through school, bitch. You went through school and you did it. You did it. You graduated probably or whatever. Hot girl shit. Yes, ma'am. Hot girl university. So your brain does understand that type of structure. And there is something in you that can be forced to just do things because you did it during that time period. And so I don't know, there's a level of preparation and of calm down from summer. Like a transitional thing is what we're looking for. And we're missing those pieces. And transition is what really helps me in my structure and in my okayness into a change or into something that I don't like. I don't understand. That's not my vibe. I'm a summer girl. That's not my vibe. And I need to transition there to help me kind of power through that. And while you're doing that, because that can be in terms of whatever you like, but I think it's important to set goals. If you know winter is coming and that is something that stresses you the fuck out, set new goals. And even if you struggle at a really deep level with seasonal depression and it's really difficult for you, there are little things that you can do in a new notebook or like doing whatever in your preparation. And it can be as simple as I have to go out once a week. I have to see my friend once a week. I have to make one new recipe. I have to do X amount of workouts and it's something that you can keep up with. These are obtainable goals that I'm talking about. If you want to set, when I make my goals, we have some obtainable ones and we have some that are just bigger. Okay. Because I will stress myself out if I don't hit these marks. And then I become a lazy piece of shit very easily when my goals are too high. This is obvious stuff for you. You're a smart girl. But setting goals, I think, is a helpful note to take. And that could be for me too. Last year, I did like one new recipe a week. And I added this place called Salt. So this could be wherever you want it to be. It's a wellness center basically. And it's where I did my float tank and salt therapy. What are those rooms? Like the salt therapy you go sit in. They do meditations and stuff like that. And it got me out of the house and also in wellness. Which when I ball up on that couch and I miss my 70 degree weather, some things just need to be outside of the house. And I need to go experience things and remember that life being great is fully up to me. And this is another silly tidbit that I think might help you. I don't know. Anyways, exposure therapy. Because this is where it comes in handy that we accept nature as she is and not on conditions. And I think if you're an empath and I don't know what, I just think that'll help you. And so this could be like going on walks, going to the beach during the winter, going places and making sure that you're out and about and experiencing the weather. And I hate the cold, y'all. Like, I actually cannot with the cold. I hate it so much. I could never live in the north. I don't know how y'all do it. I truly do not. I'm a southern girl, and to me, 65 is, it's brisk. It's getting brisk out there. My luck. And I wanted to accept life in all of its forms because I feel like I exit. And part of that was seasonal depression too, because I would wallow up and get really upset and because I couldn't look at my demons. But I'm exiting this reality and I exit life. And this is when I'm super alien and super hermit, and like just not who I'm meant to be. You have to feed yourself. No one is, and I don't need to say no one is coming to save you, all that. Go watch Mel Robbins if that's the type of inspo you need for your seasonal depression. But no one is coming to save you. No one's coming to feed you. And no one's coming to give you sunlight. That's something that you have to go, unfortunately, provide for yourself. And that's where the school structure kind of comes in handy, and being prepared and having a notebook that you go by, where it's like, fuck. No one wants to go to the gym, but fuck. Well, but fuck. I got to go for that hour. It's kind of the same. I don't want to go outside, walk in nature. Who the fuck are you? But you do. For that 1 hour or whatever. I did not want to hide from my potential anymore. And that was a promise that I made to myself and actually helped boost me into recovery and into sobriety, was that I did not want to hide from my potential. Because I hated what I couldn't be, but I had no idea what I could be yet. And a lot of these ways that I say these things sound like I'm trying to be profound, and it's more so that's how I'm articulating things. I had to be grateful for opportunity presented to me. And I had to now look for opportunity. And that included in the winter seasons where now I'm being granted this opportunity to go beast mode. Because once you get locked in like that and you're locked into what you want out of life and stuff, weather is just a fucking accessory. It's just another time of year. And to have my own schedule and routine and refine that made me excited for life. It exhilarated me. Because I was awake, and it wasn't that I was busy and just filling my time to fill my time. These are things that I wanted out of life, and this is who I wanted to be now. And so I made sure I caught the demons as they run. If I got too busy, remembered to sit down and have a moment of peace where I could center and remember that I have deep, sad feelings. And sometimes I tend to hide that in whatever that looks like, routine, whatever. And being busy would be what woke me up and allowed me to enjoy my seasons. Because at no point did I deserve to be abandoned. And that's kind of what is happening if you're experiencing pain during winter months or during cold times, is you are abandoning yourself. And if you metaphorically need to see that as nature or as a little girl and yourself as a little girl, it helped me to have pictures of myself as a kid like around. I don't know if you've heard that before, but having like baby pictures of me when I was young, pictures of my mom. You don't want to do that girl an injustice. I had to feel that it was possible for me to both dream big and achieve my goals, because it is. And that's a faith that I didn't understand until winter. And that's when I had those great realizations, and I had so much time to just work on me. And it was like this preparation, and instead of this hibernation that we don't experience, it's a hibernation for our soul to like rejuvenate and become the best version of ourselves. And that is an opportunity that we do get granted in the winter. I wasn't willing to sacrifice myself or my time or anything. And I didn't need a season. I didn't need the warmth. I didn't need summer. And that, I think, really propelled me into beast mode. And then also from there into this season of summer changing, because I thought, am I going to keep grinding? I did the arc that I was supposed to do, my winter arc. I've done all I'm supposed to do. So am I going to keep doing this? And each time I defied myself and sacrificed something, it like propelled me into the next season too. And as somebody that looks at seasonal change, it naturally has occurred like that in my sobriety and in like my beast mode type shit every time. And it's me just propelling myself and believing in her a little extra and not taking momentum down. And like the other day I was swimming and I swam really fucking far. And I was thinking, I used to just stop if it got a little hard. And there's like a press. This is so cheesy. But there's a press past certain things that just like is you hitting this new level of power that you take back from yourself. That you don't believe you're enough and you took away at some point in time. And you don't think you can push past that wall because you've showed yourself time and time again that you can't. But that was never presented to you. You stopped because you didn't believe in the first place. And so I don't know if you girls know what a winter arc is. And I thought about doing something around this, and we might, because we're not quite there yet. We have a little time till winter arc. Typically it's October. We had the great September lock-in, but every year there's like some type of shit about people working out and locking in. But winter arc is when you prepare mind, body, spirit for the year. And it's the end of the year. Things are cold. There's nothing to do but work on yourself. And I think it's a great way, even if you do that in a mental health boot camp ass way. You don't have to do that in a physical way or know your dreams. Like these things that I talk about, where I talk about my passion and my purpose and stuff. That's for me. That's me showing you what it took and what it looked like for me, because I'm crazy. And that's how my brain is structured, is around that type of power in myself. But that's as simple as the goals being things about your mental health, and that you don't want to feel that way anymore. Because do you? No. You don't want to enter each season afraid and not thinking you're enough. And winter arc, I think, provides whatever that looks like for you. But knowing that you're locked in and that you don't have a choice, it shows you that you're worth it. That sacrifice and that extra time every day, that shows you that you're worth it. And so I think participating in things like winter arc are really helpful for seasons changing and our emotions being charred. Yeah, transform what winter looks like for you, first of all. But also, that is a great time to get sober. Not that I needed to wrap all this into getting sober, but it is. It's a good time to either take a break or choose sobriety, or just like take a moment and not be drunk as fuck and actually analyze your emotions, because they can't run off. In the summer, sometimes mine run off because I can, even though I don't drink or use, I can still feel full, and my load can get really full. And I, like I said earlier, I tend to run away. So when I have enough on my plate, and winter provides this space of like, there's nowhere to turn. It's kind of like a dead end. And emotionally going into this and into kind of like that winter arc vibe, my task was acceptance and to be free. And acceptance to be free. Because I had to understand where I was at and what my cost of freedom would look like. And I think that's different for everyone. That sacrifice for what your freedom is supposed to look like. Because I think at the core, that's just what we're all yearning for. I don't know. I've clung to freedom in this way because I know at the pit, that is what I scream for. Every lifetime that I've ever existed anywhere, I just know there's something about me and freedom that coincide. And winter arc can present that version to you of what you need to feel free. What helped me too with the seasonal depression and stuff is that like you can only be restrained if you allow yourself to be restrained. And it is kind of a you problem. And that, I don't think that's the answer to any depression, any anxiety. I am saying this to you as somebody who has suffered with that and come to grips to realize that that is the blatant truth. Because that is, I hate, and I used, especially when I was in my depressions actually, and in my anxieties and stuff, how fucking annoying it was when people be like, get over it, or like, you just have to look at it this way. It's like, no fucking shit, I'm stuck. My brain doesn't work like that, but that's where our preparation comes in play. And that's where my preparation came in play, because I was met then with that understanding, because I was prepared going into it. And then I was met with this ideal that like, I can't be restrained. I get to be free all throughout the year. And now when I am in this beast mode, it doesn't matter what fucking time of year it is. It doesn't matter what the fuck's going on. I'm happy. And I'm experiencing joy because I'm pushing my limits all the time. And because the only thing that really, truly at the core will present me that type of joy and freedom is becoming the best that I can be. And like pushing her. Because I can't leave in the dust any of her potential anymore, because that was a promise I made. And then that's what united me with that. So obviously it's difficult and obviously it's hard. And I don't want you to think I don't see you for the actual pain and suffering that does take place. You got to close that chapter and move on, queen. Close that book, close that chapter of life that was once so painful for you to understand and close, and move on. And that was one of the greater decisions I made in both my life, my sobriety, and my depressions, and my seasonal depressions. Is that I gained everything, and we talked about that a little bit in the home episode, is that I gained everything I fucking needed from that period of my life. And if I didn't, we have another one coming. And it's about this flip of perspective into the new that I kept during the seasonal change, that I kept during winter, in the hopes of things coming versus the pain of stuff leaving. And that's what depression is looking into your past and looking into the past. So I urge you, when you're fighting the seasons and stuff, to look at what in you is so clung to the past and what if it hurt so bad. Because there was things that I had been through and things that I had done, but it was the way that my brain was structured. It was this fog around me. And yeah, me recognizing my past wasn't going to be what changed me and wasn't going to be what allowed me to make that flip, but it made things a fuck ton easier because I'm not looking at all I can't be anymore. And that's what depression looks like for a lot of people. And I think it's this sense of like, you can make the seasons and change, you know, like you can align yourself with this outside world and what's going on outside of your window. And that alignment that I'm trying to articulate to you, that I thought would be easier to understand and say, is like this flow state that I am everything. I am every molecule. I am nature. I am life. I am my friends. I am everything. And I get to be that because I chose to unite that with myself and with nature or with your God or whatever things like that kind of look like. There's something about mundane tasks and you changing them for your enjoyment. Because I remember during those times, it was not fun to brush my teeth. It was not fun to get out of bed. It was not fun to get dressed. It was not easy to shower. These things were not like simple and easy for me as I am making them now. But for some reason, this radical change was what changed that for me. This radical perspective change that also kind of came with sobriety. And any large pivot that I had in my life was me choosing to change that perspective. And there is a decision. Once you make the decision that you do not want to feel that way anymore, you are able to pull yourself out of it. And because push and pull that you will do anything it takes and sacrifice anything to be her and be the best version of yourself. So that's just I don't know. This is a shorter episode today, but just a few things on the seasons changing, and I want to inspire you. We're going to do some winter arc stuff coming up, and I want you to be prepared for what's to come and that you're not caught off guard. And especially if you're starting a new sober journey, you don't have to drink your way through winter. And I was afraid too with every season that changed, but I ended up always coming out on top. Each time I came out on top. So I hope any of that made sense. And you're going to kick some ass this year. Okay, I'll see you next week. And I love you. Bye.